Hello there everybody, your audience, my name is Supersonic Blur, and welcome to a Hand of the Gods patch notes video. I've done patch note stuff for Smite, and I will look to trying to do some of those again once I can figure out how I'm going to specifically do that. In the meantime though, I thought I'd bring you the update on Hand of the Gods. We'll have a new patch on Wednesday the 26th of July, and we've got some interesting stuff coming in this patch. We have a brand new Pantheon, a bunch of changes to some cards. We have and also as well a bunch of new cards for the neutral stuff. There are a lot of awesome things coming in this patch, so I thought, hey, I'll bring you guys an update on that because I've been really enjoying Hand of the Gods, and if you haven't tried out Hand of the Gods yet, then this is a reminder that you should probably really do so. There'll be a link in the description down below to where you can sign up and get it. You don't need a key anymore. Right now it's in open beta, so that's pretty awesome. Either way, we'll start off with the general changes that are coming in this patch notes. First of all, the one which I myself am not particularly fond of is Discover is being changed, the mechanic. When you play a card with Discover as part of its effect, once you select a card, the card will be shown to both players. I do not think this is a good idea, but I understand what they're trying to do here. The idea of, let's say, discover a spell, Valhalla Sorcery, discover a Norse spell. You have no idea what spell that could be. You have a rough idea of what people are likely to pick. It could be like a Crippling Curse for removal, it could be a Haste of Fatalis for burst, Frenzy, Coerce, any of these kinds of things, Siege, Mayhem, whatever. There are a lot of options it could be, and trying to play around them all is not possible, other than knowing it's a spell. So from that regard, you don't have much counterplay available to you, so I understand what they're trying to do. However, just revealing the card, I take an issue at, because it removes all aspects of trying to play around it. It's like, oh, I have this card in my hand. I have discovered a god. You don't know what it is. It could be a Thanatos, it could be an Athena. It could be an Ao Kuang, could be a Haobo. You don't know. But you will have some idea that the card in hand is a god. That much you can be sure of. If they wanted to remove the counterplay of it, then it shouldn't be Discover, but it should just be add a random card, honestly, at that point, because it matters just as much. If they were going to do it, where it was, once you've selected a card, the choice of 3 you had is revealed, I think that is far more viable, because there's the argument which says that the only information you need is which card they picked, which is true. That is the information that you are trying to attain. However, just giving you that information defeats the purpose of having any skill in reading into what your opponent is going to do. As a result, picking between the 3 and showing the 3 options you had gives both players a bit of skill to it. You can double bluff someone. If you see that there is a Frenzy, a Hasten Fatalis, and a Charge, you know that whatever you pick is going to be a big burst. Chances are, if you have a board presence, it'll be more likely that you would pick up the Frenzy, because that gives the most effect on things. Your opponent could read that. However, they don't know 100%. They are making a better guess on it based off the information they have. And I think that works better. Just showing the 3 options you had without what was picked. Or even just saying, alright, here are the 2 they didn't pick. If you wanted to take it a step further down. These are the 2 they didn't pick. You can then start trying to make the information of, alright then, they didn't pick this and they didn't pick this. Why would they not pick that? Well, maybe the other card was better. Maybe it synergizes better with what they got. What could synergize better? And you can start making reads off that. I don't think that the idea of just showing the card is a good one. But that's just me. I understand that other people are going to have different views on that. Hence why they've actually decided to go with this. But we'll see how it works. It may change in the future. We're still in open beta. Opening card packs now has new visuals and sound effects. This is going to make my OCD even more happy when I start spamming open packs to try and get as much of the new stuff, because, you know, I'm a kleptomaniac like that. I also like shiny things. And speaking of shiny things, gold cards are a thing. Every card will now have a gold version, and these are only obtainable through core packs. Disenchanting those, they have the disenchant value. I believe that commons and rares have the exact same disenchant value. And when it comes to disenchanting a golden, you disenchant a golden, you will get the equivalent in non-gold. So if I disenchant a golden epic, I will get an epic value in dust. So it should be 80, I believe, that you'll get, which I understand the concept of. The golds aren't meant to be a big thing. The only thing I am slightly concerned with is how they're going to go about doing the gold neutrals, unless you just get given those at specific, like, milestones, like when you hit certain levels and things like that. I don't know. But yeah, gold stuff, it's cosmetics and cosmetics only, but I have OCD and need them, so that's gonna go down real well. Other new things as well, new art treatment for some of the queues, just because, again, we're in open beta, everything that's there is designed to work, and they're just been sort of, all the stuff is placeholders, so you're getting new arts and things like that, and so all should be good. We also as well have some new effects for the cards when they meet specific criteria. For example, Judgment will have a highlight of a different color when 2 cards are on the board. So what this means is, let's say you have a Thanatos in your hand. Thanatos' war cry is that he can move on to a minion with 2 or less health and execute it and move to that spot. If the condition is met of having a minion with 2 or less health on the board, he will then have an orangey red highlight around it rather than just green. This shows you that the card is there, and this is nice for every player, to be perfectly honest. At the high end of the game and skill levels, it doesn't matter as much because you're aware of you should be aware of these kind of things, and at the lower end it just lets you become aware of these things. And even at high end, it doesn't hurt to just have a gentle reminder. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't know already, but it's nice just to have that. So with that pretty much covers all of the general side of things. Now we're going to move on to the balance. Ascension is going to see a reduction cost from 6 to 5. The idea behind this is supposed to be a board cleary card. It's designed to either reset your hand so that you can better off use the cards you have, or it's designed to just clear the crap off of your opponent's board that you don't want to deal with, and that makes total sense. Having this at 5 means that you can then reload the board a little bit, but not too much. So I get the idea behind that. It's trying to make it a bit less bricky, so fair enough. Basilisk is receiving a new passives. This, instead of rooting minions when it attacks them, it will now have the effect of other beasts have +1 attack when this card is on the board. As a result, this card is going from a 2/3 to a 2/2. And the reason they're really looking at this is because 2/3 for 2 isn't a bad stat line, especially for melee. The problem with it is that if you're rooting something, because it's in melee range, it's right next to it. Meaning that Basilisk, if it doesn't kill it, whatever is rooted has a perfect target to just swing at the next turn if it doesn't kill it. Say it's a 1/3. The Basilisk hits the 1/3. Alright, it's now a 1/1, and there's a Basilisk sat in front of it. Well, it can just hit the Basilisk. Or if it's got 2 attack, it's a 2/2, it's a 2/3 as well. It hits it, and then it's a 2/1. The Basilisk is also a 2/1, and it roots it in place. It doesn't quite have that big of an effect, so as a result, they're just changing it to see how it works. And I like the idea. The root may be implemented in some other stuff. I'd like to see it at least looked at for something, but just on this Basilisk didn't quite make enough sense. Book of Thoth is seeing a reduction in cost from 6 to 5. Bear in mind, this also works with how the changes to discover are, so I like the idea behind it. Book of Thoth, you discover a spell and then add another copy of it, so I believe you get 2 copies of the spell you added. This just basically means that it's slightly less clunky to try and use. If you wanted to use the spell that you got there and then, you can do so. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility in the cards that you wanted. You could, if you really wanted, go for a second Book of Thoth, if it gives you the option to. I don't know whether or not it's coded to, but if it gives you a second Book of Thoth, you could play a second one, and you could really get stupid value out of it. Or if you needed something like an Execute. Let's say you were digging for an Execute. Well, here's the 6 mana. Execute costs 5. Yeah. So it's nice to just try and make it a little less bricky in your hand. Again, a lot of these changes are just trying to make these cards more viable. Bellona is seeing her leader ability taking a nerf here. They're reducing the range on it from 3 tiles she can move a minion to 2. This is mostly to just try and make it feel a little bit better to play against a Bellona. If you have, let's say, you're running a Norse deck and you plop down a Fenrir, Bellona can literally just keep Fenrir held in the exact same spot because he can move 3, she can move it back 3. Yes, it costs her 2 mana to do so, but it keeps Fenrir out of the way. I myself have done it. I've literally had a Fenrir. I've just shoved Fenrir into a corner the entire time because it can't move anywhere, and then I just dealt with it with the silence. So the idea behind this is moving it back to 2 means that yes, it affects range. It still perfectly counts as range, but it's an over effect range because range can only move 2, so she can constantly move them 1 back or 1 closer or whatever. It also as well means that from the regard of offensive and defensively, it takes the nerf. Defensively, the melees can still hit. They can still move forward 1 because 3 minus 2 is 1, and also as well, it only just equals, not over, pushes back the ranged. And also as well, offensively, you can't basically double a unit's movement. You couldn't, let's say, throw. You can throw a melee unit straight up to the summoning stone, hit it, then walk it back with your ability. It wouldn't be in the exact same spot, and the same thing from there. So it's a very nice change, and it's more just to try and make it feel more fun to work with and against. Crippling Curse is seeing a mana increase from 1 to 2. Main reason for this is it's a very cheap, efficient combo to slap down a Cursed Warrior with charge, which is a 1/1. Now something's got 1 health, slap, and it's all gone. As a result, they're just tweaking it. The combo is still fairly cheap at 4 mana and is fairly accessible to do, but it's just tweaking it slightly. It's very strong removal for literally anything. You can still combo this with something like a Mayhem if you've already got stuff on the board to try and roll the dice on the RNG with that kind of stuff, but again, it's just trying to make things feel a little bit better. It does a lot, and it's very cheap. It is designed to be cheap for this kind of thing, but 1 mana may be just a little bit too cheap. Qiao Fang is seeing the health reduction from 5 to 4. 4 mana, 3/5 immunity to melee, especially where the current meta is a lot of Odin with mid-rangey aggro sort of things. A lot of those are melee minions, especially the 1/1s that he summons. So having something that's immune to melee is already very good value. But being 5 health meant that even to ranged, it was very difficult for them to deal with him. A lot of ranged isn't at 3 attack. The only ones that they really pop to mind are the 4 mana things like Stone Guardian, Baboon at 6 mana, Famwees, 6/2 and things like that. So as a result, it's very, very powerful. It's still fairly powerful. It still may take 2 hits to hit Qiao Fang, because a lot of ranged units are 2 or 1 attack. So as a result, it's a bit stronger, or a bit weaker, sorry, against ranged, which is perfectly fine. Absolutely fine. I don't see a huge issue with this. Qiao Fang is a very strong card in the current meta, so it seems to be better if his stats get a little bit of a tweak. Dishonorable is a weird one that's happening. Originally is the 1 mana, deal 2 damage. However, this is being flipped on its head. It's going from an early game removal to a late game removal. It is seeing a mana increase to 6 and is having its damage increased to 4. It's an interesting choice. I understand what they're trying to do with it. Early, you're more designed for board, you're more designed to move the board around, and it was a very cheap combo for 3 mana to just move at least 1 minion. If you move 1 minion out the way, and then the Dishonorable can hit for 2, and it was very decent board clear early. However, they do have other things for board clear early. You have Shackle for board clear early, Rain of Arrows for board clear early. So they just want to try and move it towards a little bit more of the later game side of things, where they don't have too much AoE stuff. You have Bludgeon, but that's only everything in a single column. So by doing this, you sort of try and control it a little bit more differently. I'm not sure that it's quite in the right place. I think 6 mana to deal 4 is very expensive, and at that point in the game you should be trying to control it a little bit better. And if you're needing to combo it with your hero ability, you have to wait till turn 8 for that. So I'm not 100% on this. We'll have to see how this one really plays out, I feel. Geb is seeing an attack increase from 2 to 3. His effect is great already, giving something additional health and cleansing them of anything on them is great, but his body was just kind of there, and he didn't really do too much, so it's just making Geb a little bit more potent, which I like. It means he's not just a Warcry, which is nice, and I like that. Guan Yu is seeing a mana reduction from 6 to 5. This is just because Guan Yu's stat line and effect is Guan Yu's stat line is balanced out by his effect. His stat line is fairly low at 2-5, but his effect of hitting everything in your opponent controls for 1 when you play a spell is amazing, especially with Crescent Blades that you can just stack up in your hand. However, it can be a little bit clunky to try and get there up that far with Guan Yu. So as a result, dropping his cost down, it helps. It's on turn 6, you can play him and a Crescent Blade in your hand, which is nice. So you can do that. Having it at 6 was just a little bit too clunky, especially when you think of the other 6 mana cards you've also got. You also have Sun Wukong, you also have Dragon King as well, and so you playing those is just as strong. But Guan Yu, the 5-drop for Chinese really isn't there. It's kind of just Ao Kuang, so putting this in there kind of helps with that. Hou Yi is seeing a mana cost reduction from 4 to 3. The card has a good idea about it, but it just wasn't seeing play because there are other things that they could do. 4 mana really wasn't a slot that you wanted to put the 3/3 in. So he's seeing a reduction cost down to 3, and because of this as well, his attack is also going to be reduced to 2. He may see play, I don't know, I kind of don't feel like Hou Yi still is going to see a play in what regards to what a Chinese deck is looking to do. It's more about the spells. This guy's removal is there, but you kind of really would rather do that with spells anyway. Talking about removal and minions, Serqet's passive will now trigger on a global scale. She's also seeing a health reduction from 3 to 2. I really like this because it means that you don't have to be losing to use a Serqet. I think this is nice and could make Serqet see some play. She's removal, she's a minion on the board. It's slow removal, yes, but it can also hold your opponent at bay with something, thinking, hang on, some of my minions are going to die, and it's not just the ones that are near it. So you can't just throw weak minions near her and then kill her with ranged, and it's like, haha, Serqet's going to kill my 1/1s or whatever. It's actually just anything now, which is quite nasty. Khepri is seeing the most love, and I think probably the biggest change to any of the Pantheons currently. Khepri is now a 1/4 Warcry, deal 1 damage to all units, then heal all friendlies for 1. Now, this may not sound like much, this may sound kind of weird, and okay, I kind of get it, but this is really important. Deal 1 damage to all units, including your own. All units. If you have 3 minions on the board, they're all going to get hit for 1. However, then heal all friendlies for 1. This means that any effects that you've got that proc off of healing will apply. That is very, very nice if you have a board presence for it. You can hit that with a Sobek. You could hit that with a Neith. I think it's Sacred Warrior. Whenever a friendly is healed, draw a card. If you have a couple minions on board, plop down Khepri. Khepri's drawn you a bunch of cards. Now, what is important as well is if your minions are on 1 health, don't throw down Khepri. He will accidentally kill them. So that's pretty good. Khepri, I think, is a very, very strong card now, and it does synergize a lot more with this idea of what the Pantheon is trying to be. I really, really like this as a card. I think this is a very nice change and should see Ra potentially doing more, because that 1 damage can deal a lot, especially in more aggressive decks. 1 damage, anything with 1 health, just kills them, and that's really, really nice. It also buffs up Sobek, something chronic. I mean, Sobek will get healed and gain a buff on this. The Summoning Stone will get healed, and Sobek will gain a buff of it. So already, that's pretty strong. So I really like Khepri. now. Khepri is pretty great. He is an amazing hug bug. His stat line is weak, but his war cry is amazing and is designed for anything on the board, and you can use it offensively and defensively. I need to clear the stuff off the board. I can do that. I want to buff up a load of minions or draw a load of cards. I can do that. I like that. White Tiger is seeing an attack increase, just a straight buff from 1 to 2. The card is a 1/2 for 2, gain 1 health at the start of your turn. Great, that's nice. However, it's kind of really weak. 1 attack wasn't going to do much, so upping it to 2 means that it's still a 2/2 to start with, and it's still fairly easy to kill, but it can get stronger. It can become a 2/3, a 2/4, which is an okay stat line. So I don't mind that. I think that's an okay change. It may see play, it still may not see play. New cards coming in. We have a bunch of new cards. However, before I get to the new cards, I've got to first introduce the new Pantheon, and that is the Mayan Pantheon. Interesting card ideas. Some very, very fun mechanics as well coming in with this as well. Arpwash will be the leader, and his ability will be deploy a 1/1 zombie anywhere on the battlefield. Zombies are 1/1s with a movement of 1, meaning they can only move 1 square at a time, which kind of just doesn't sound like much. However, you can silence those or cleanse them. I believe you can cleanse them. I'm not 100% sure on that. But that means they will then have full movement of 3 because they are melee. So already you can see he's kind of a little bit like Odin where he spams stuff, but it works in a different way. And that's how the rest of the cards interact with zombies. For example, Ritual Strike. For 0 mana, deal 1 damage. If the target is killed, leave behind a zombie. That's pretty nice. Just 1 damage, turn something into a 1/1 if it dies. That's nice. Bloodrite, 1 mana, deal 1 damage. This spell gains +1 damage for each damage-friendly unit you have. Again, that's pretty nice. You can get a deal 3 damage for 1. That's very good. Admittedly, it means you have to have 2 minions on the board that are damaged, but that means they've only taken 1 damage and they're damaged. That's pretty good. Lingering Dead, for 1 mana, you will deploy 2 1/1 zombies. I believe that can be anywhere on the board as well, so that's pretty nice. Unholy Offering, for 1 mana, destroy a zombie and deal 3 damage to an enemy god. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. You trade a 1/1 for 3 damage. That can be quite nice. However, it does have to be to an enemy god, so you can't just use that for removal on anything. But it's still good. Corpse Explosion. For 2 mana, destroy all friendly zombies and deal 1 damage to enemies adjacent to a zombie. That's pretty good, and now you can start seeing a lot more of the synergy behind zombies. Zombies just move around, and you've got to then suddenly realize that these can do 1 damage in all areas around them. That's pretty devastating. So you're gonna have to start trying to deal with these 1/1 zombies that are just spawned, and you can keep spawning them. So for 3 mana, you can plop down a 1/1 zombie. For 4 mana, you can plop down a 1/1 zombie anywhere on the board, and then Corpse Explosion it and deal 1 to everything around it. So already there's a little bit of control coming out from this, and that's using the zombies, which is really nice. Death from Above, for 2 mana, it's pretty much Corpse Explosion, except wherever you want. Death from Above, for 2 mana, drop a corpse from the sky and do 1 damage to all adjacent enemies. Very, very nice. Simple, little bit of removal, and it's a really fun animation of just watching the corpse drop from the sky. Defiled Bounty, for 2 mana, if you control 2 or more zombies, you can draw 2 cards. Not a bad card, could see a little bit of play. I like it. It depends on how well and easy it is to keep zombies on the board. They are only 1/1s, remember? But there are ways of generating a fair few of them, and drawing 2 cards is never bad, especially for 2 mana, if you can control the zombies for it. Otherwise, it's just a dead card, so interesting. Hornbats, 2 mana, 1/3, melee. Whenever another friendly dies, gain +1 attack and +1 movement. If you plop a Hornbats in the backline, and then you've just got these zombies that are dying, this does mean that Corpse Explosion destroys, which I believe classes as dying them for Hornbats. Same thing for which one is it? Same thing for oh no, sorry, I'm thinking of a card that's a little bit later on. So every time you destroy or kill a minion every time you destroy a zombie, that will count towards increasing Hornbats' attack, and as well that's movement as well. So Hornbats can just sit in the backline and become a 7/3 and then smack up a bunch of stuff, and that's pretty powerful. A Wheelish, is a 3-mana 2/1 melee. Doesn't quite sound like the best stat line, and you're right. However, she is coming with a brand new mechanic passive idea, and that is a Wheelish will ignore the first application of damage every turn. Essentially, and I'm gonna harken this to something similar to Hearthstone, it's a Divine Shield, but it's a Divine Shield that's every turn. Meaning, she can kill something on your turn, and she will ignore the instance of damage. So it's like having immunity to return damage. However, what it also means is because it's every turn, not just on your turn or on your opponent's turn, you can use that, kill something. Now your opponent's got a 2/1 to deal with, but they can't just hit it once and kill the 2/1. They have to hit it twice. If you hit this with Sunder, and it was the first implication of damage, nah, she's not going to take damage. You could hit that with a 20 attack Fenrir. If it's the first application, it's not going to do anything. But a Wheelish will still hit him back for 2, because that's how it works. So, that's pretty nice. Could see some play. I think she's a fairly fun, interesting card, and I like the mechanic a lot. The mechanic is very, very nice. Blood Bond is a 3-mana spell. Kill a random friendly and enemy unit. Each unit killed will leave behind a zombie. You can high roll this and hit one of your zombies, turning it into a zombie, and hit your opponent's biggest minion and turn it into a zombie. This will again hit the passives for Humbats. However, Blood Bond could just kill your Humbats, so you have to be careful with it. It's a nice idea. If you can high roll it, if you can get a lot of low low mana cost minions on the board, like a load of your zombies, you can throw Blood Bond out there. Hell, you could throw Blood Bond out there for 5 mana. You can throw out a 1/1 zombie, and if your opponent's only got one thing on board, you can throw out a 1/1 zombie, Blood Bond, kill your 1/1 zombie into a 1/1 zombie, and turn their creature, which could be a massive minion, and turn it into just a 1/1. That's pretty damn good. Xbalanque is a 3-mana 2/3 ranged unit with a war cry of select sun or moon. Selecting the sun deals 1 damage to everything on the board. This includes your stuff, so be careful, but killing all your stuff includes your zombies. If you've got Humbats on the board, Humbats just gets massive. So that's pretty powerful and could be pretty awesome to see. And it as well helps with a lot of aggro decks and board control, and it's really nice. However, Moon. All enemy units now attack in melee range. Oh my god, that's amazing. Ranged units already have a benefit against melee, and that's why they're lower statted for the same mana cost. You know, 3-mana 2/3 ranged that's a norm for a mana cost curve to it. Mana cost and the power curve to it. For melee, you'd rather see that kind of stat be a 3/4 because of what they're looking to try and do. Because when ranged hits melee from a distance, melee can't hit back, which is, you guys know the basic mechanics. But having all enemy units now attacking melee ranged is a permanent debuff. That is pretty good, because ranged, to counteract the fact that they can hit from 3 tiles away, they can only move 2. That severely weakens a lot of ranged units, and that's very cool. I like that. Cabrakan is probably the most devastating card I think that's coming out this patch. A 4-mana 2/6, I believe is what it is. And on the enemy turn, deal 2 damage to adjacent enemies whenever a card is played. If you throw this in front of the Summoning Stone, that means that the 4 units around it, the top 2 and the bottom 2 closest to Cabrakan, cannot be used on minions that have 2 or less health, because they'll get summoned, card has been played. Cabrakan now hits that. That is quite simply disgusting in the extreme. I think that Cabrakan is most definitely the strongest card that's been introduced here, and it's not once per turn when a card is played, deal 2 damage, every time a card is played. So, you summon a 1/1 Cursed Warrior, you go to buff it up with Frenzy. Nah, you just killed it. Unless you moved it already. But, Cabrakan is very, very strong, and I think probably overstated for the damage that he's able to do. 6 health is a lot. This card, I think, is going to be one of the strongest cards that has come out this set. Raise the Grave is a 4-mana spell. Give all friendly zombies +3/+3. That means that your zombies are now 4/4s. That's kind of scary. That means that if your opponent hasn't dealt with all your 1/1s, you've now made them all 4/4s. Admittedly, they can only move one space per turn, but if you were to, say, silence them, or silence one, and then raise the Grave, now you have a 4/4 that can move 3 spaces away. That's pretty good. Sever is a 4-mana spell. Deal 3 damage to a unit. If a friendly unit has died this turn, deal 5 damage instead. 5 damage for 4 is okay, I guess, and you can easily just trade off a 1/1 if the board is permitting, so that you can make that a 5 damage. So that's okay. I don't mind that. Amuzen Carb is a 5-mana 3/3 ranged of a Warcry deployed to Hives. Hives are a neutral card, which I will mention right now. They're a 1-mana card, 0/2, as a structure. When it can be deployed anywhere on the battlefield, and at the start of your turn, deal 1 damage to all adjacent units, including your own stuff. The Amuzen Carb Hives are interesting, but the big issue that is with them is that it's at your start of your turn. Because it's at the start of your turn, this means that you can't just plop them down and they'll get immediate effect, so you have to be careful where you put them. They will also deal damage to themselves if you place them next to each other, so be careful with that. They'll also deal damage to your own stuff, so be careful with that. Though it is an interesting idea, and I don't mind it. Chuck is a 5-mana 4/4 melee with a Warcry of deal 2 damage. Just deal 2 damage to anywhere on the board. So a little bit of removal and a 4/4 body is okay. I don't mind it. Is okay. Kukulkan, a 5-mana 2/6 ranged. Whenever another friendly unit dies, spawn a tornado on a random enemy unit, dealing 2 damage and displacing them. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, because you can make friendlies die whenever you want, because you have cards that kill them, or you have ways of doing that. So Kukulkan's pretty okay for that. Blight. Oh, also as well, that's if your opponent trades into stuff, Kukulkan will trigger its effect. So that's very control-y. Very, very control-y. Blight. For 6 mana, deal 3 damage to all enemy units. Enemies that are killed will leave behind a zombie. So a board wipe of 3 and leaving behind 1/1 zombies for you is pretty nice. Decay. For 6 mana, turn an enemy unit into a friendly zombie. Huge, strong removal and a high mana cost, rightly so. Finally, Camazotz is a 7-mana 5/5. Charge. Warcry. Consume all friendly zombies. This will kill them all. Therefore, proccing things like Kukulkan or Bats. Consuming all friendly zombies. For each zombie consumed, gain +1/+1. Oh boy, Camazotz. Camazotz can just blow people out of the water immediately, but you do have to have them on the board already. Yes, there are lots of ways of generating them, and for 9 mana, he's a 6/6 with charge. It's not the greatest, but it's still pretty okay if you can get the board. Remember, a lot of these cards you're looking at and immediately you're thinking, oh my god, that could be OP. He, Camazotz on the board, he destroys 3 zombies. Kukulkan now suddenly hits 3 enemies for 2 damage and displaces them. Oh my god, this is insane and amazing, and I still have an 8/8 for 7 to attack with. Yeah, but you do have to have that with the board, and if you already had that board, you're probably already winning anyway. So, take it with a grain of salt. Remember that in the perfect world, every card is OP. So just bear that in mind. It's good. It's great. I'm not going to lie. It's great and it synergizes a lot with some of the stuff. But it is provided that all that stuff is already on the board. There are ways of dealing with those things that are already on the board. Neutral card we already mentioned over the Hives. This next card coming up is kind of a fun one and can actually be run in stuff that isn't just my index. Zabin's Scout, 3 mana, 1/3 ranged. Whenever a friendly non-zombie dies, spawn a 1/1 zombie. You throw that in the Norse decks. Oh, what's this? I have Cursed Warriors on the field every turn. So they do 1 damage, and then when they die, I have a 1/1 on the field. That's dirty. That's very dirty. And honestly, I think that's going to run in a lot of Odin decks because Odin can suffer a little bit from board presence being kind of weakish, and a lot of the buff cards you don't see because you just want to use the immediate effect, and that's why a lot of decks have started moving more towards these mid-ranges, things with Hell in them, with Freya, Thors and Fenris and such, because you just lack that board presence. So you could see a very hyper-aggressive Odin deck running Zabin Scouts, and if you have 2 of them on the field at one time, and 1 unit dies that was a non-zombie, you get 2 zombies! That's scary. That's very scary. So that could be quite a devastating pick. Carrier Behemoth is a 4-mana 1/8, but whenever another friendly dies, deal 1 damage to the enemy summoning stone. That's a sleeper card, because every time a friendly dies, you do 1 damage to the stone. So you can use, I'm going to use Odin as an example. I can deal 1 damage to an enemy, kill it with my Cursed Warriors, and then hit the stone for 1. That's pretty good. Not to mention, if I have a Zap, again, I'm going in perfect worlds here. Not to mention, I have a Zabin Scout on the field. Friendly 1/1 dies. Hit the, Carrier Behemoth hits the summoning stone for 1. Zabin Scout summons a zombie 1/1. Zombie dies, Carrier Behemoth procs again, hitting thing for 1 damage. That's very strong. And Carrier Behemoth as well, with all the Mayan stuff, whew, that's pretty good. So there are a lot of combo potentials to go with Carrier Behemoth. Armored Behemoth is a 2-mana 2/8. It's a 5-mana 2/8, and whenever this unit takes damage, gain +2 attack. Very strong and can see a lot of use in Ra decks and with a lot of healing. That's very nice. Khepri already makes this thing just a 4/8, which is very, very nice. And this thing can just get very, very big very, very quickly. Nacon Warrior is a 5-mana 4/4. Whenever a friendly unit dies, draw a card. This thing just is a very strong potential for a card, and that's pretty damn amazing. Just throwing out again with aggro, this thing can deal with a lot of the drawing issues that they can have. Oh, I've just got a load of really low cost minions, blah 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 blah. Namco Warrior will do amazing in Mayan decks because, let's be honest here, draw engines are amazing, so having this thing for a draw engine would be pretty good. Suku is a 5-mana 5/3 beast. If you control another beast, Suku gains charge. I'm not 100% on this card. I think that its health is too low for it to be efficient to just say it's going to trade into something and keep itself alive. I think what would be nice is if you control another beast, Suku gains charge. If a Wheelix is on the board, then you also gain immunity to damage return, or you ignore the first instance of damage per turn. I think that wouldn't be bad, because it helps with beast synergies, but it also as well kind of... It needs to stay alive on the board. It's 5/3. 5/3 is just doing 5 damage or something. 3 health kind of is too weak and it's just going to die to stuff. So unless you're just trying to punch in 5 damage to face, not really seeing too much from that. War Behemoth, 5-mana 5/6. Whenever this unit takes damage, draw a card. That's pretty good. That's really pretty good. Again, I think this is going to see a lot of play in Egyptian decks because they can heal it up. And it doesn't matter how much damage or how little damage this thing takes. If this thing takes 6 damage and dies immediately, it cycled itself and dealt 5 damage. So I don't see a problem with that. If it takes less than that, you gain value off of it anyway. Chieftain, 6-mana 6/5. Whenever another friendly unit dies, gain +2/+2. Oh my god. Already, Chieftain, Zabin Scout, Carrier Behemoth, yeah, I just, that's, Namco Warrior, Chieftain, Carrier Behemoth, Zabin Scout. If you have all of those on the board in a Norse deck, whenever you summon a 1/1 and it dies, Zabin Scout makes it a 1/1 zombie, Carrier Behemoth hits Summoning Stone for 1, you draw a card off Namco Warrior, and your Chieftain gains +2/+2. I know I'm talking, like, super high-level synergies, and it's like, the board presence was amazing forever. But, jeez, that's some scary cards right now. There's a lot of synergies coming in. I really like them because it's not just, look at all these neutral cards that kind of really only work for Mayan. It's, look at all these neutral cards that have some pretty nice effects that you can run in a lot of decks. And a lot of them are just generic effects of draw a card, gain health, gain damage, those kind of things, which is nice because I've got to be honest here. Drawing in this game is very limited with certain cards. So having more draw mechanics in the game, I like. I think it helps the game just run a little bit faster and potentially makes the game a lot more explosive and a lot more fun. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, I know this has been a much longer video. I do hope you've enjoyed the video and me giving my thoughts on the cards. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about the new cards, the new Pantheon, what you guys think is the most broken thing and the most underwhelming thing coming out from this changes, and what you would like to see in the future, coming from not only myself, but also from Hand of the Gods itself. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, my name has been Supersonic Blur. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite for more, and to share this stuff so people know that it exists. You guys have been a fantastic audience, and I shall see you all next time.